What's up, gamers? It's me, Joshua Joshi Howard, coming at you again, and we're just throwing content at you all of a sudden out of kind of nowhere. I had like the David Gaylord thing, and then I did a TTS game. I think I might stream again tonight for more TTS. We'll find out. Anyway, today we are going to be rambling about the guard list at the WCW, or the World Championships of Warhammer, coming up. And I want to give a big shout out to, I've forgotten his name. Did I close it? There's no way I closed it. I will find a link and I will put it in the description as well for the resource that I was looking at for this. It started with a V. Very cool guy putting all this together. Anyway, if you're interested in looking at most of the guard lists, I went through and pulled out the ones that are interesting, not just the ones that are like standard good stuff. So if you just want to build a good guard list right now, you're going to build like Lord Solar, Scions, Tank Commanders, Leman Russes, Rogal Dorns, Ogryn, Quillons, Catachan, Chimera, Ogrins. Like, if you just build a list and just like randomly decide how many of each of those things you throw in a list, it's gonna be a decent list. Um, yeah, that's basically it. So if you just want to look at those lists, there are a bunch of those lists as well. You can find a link to them in the description. But I went through and pulled out some of the more interesting ones. At the same time, if you are interested in seeing all the other cool nonsense that other people are winning at, I will also be a link to that in the description to my Ko-fi page. Again, if you want to pay for it, you can. If you don't want to, you can get it for free. Just go click the Ko-fi thing, and it'll ask you to like click the thing and be like, "Hey, how much do you want to pay for this?" And you can say 0, and that works. Anyway, go check it out. So I want to start by talking. I just went through these in alphabetical order and pulled them out as I went through. But we're going to start with Clement Ryu. I can't do a French accent. It's going to be bad. Commonly known as Immortus. You see this guy popping up quite a bit. He's coming in from France. And the number that you see after their name is the most recent stat check ELO going into this event. So in general, if you know League of Legends terms, you generally hit, I think Diamond starts at like 16, low 1600s. So basically, just kind of keep that in mind. Diamond in League of Legends is about 1600. Um, Anyway, Clement is bringing in a bit of an unusual list because he has the Canadian Command Squad, Gonskos, Lord Solar, Tempest Command Squad. That is all very normal. He's got a Basilisk, which is a little bit unusual. 5 Attilan Rough Riders, which is definitely uncommon. But the reason why I'm really pulling this one out is because Clement is choosing to play a brick of 20 Cadian Shock Troops and 2 Leman Russes Demolishers instead of the Tank Commanders, which is very uncommon. Almost everybody else has been playing Tank Commanders in the current version of the game. And one of the major things that I am curious about when I look at this is one, a lot of people, you actually see a lot of guard players bringing regimental attaches. Um, I just said I wasn't going to do a French accent, and then we kind of threw it in anywhere. Anyway, so the guys that have the Master of Ordnance, the Officer of the Fleet, and the Astropath, and everybody's taking it for the Astropath because there are a lot of guard players. Guard is the second most common unit, or the second most common faction going to the event behind Necrons. And instead of spending points there, it's very interesting to me that Clement is choosing to spend those points on an extra unit of 10 Cadian shock troops, which are combined to make a 20 man. And to me, this is rather surprising. I know Clement he's not the strongest guard player in France, but he's a very strong player, a very strong guard player over there. Consistently has strong results. And this is surprising to me because I think for 20 points less, you could have gotten the Cadian shock troops, and there's probably a way to like jiggle around the rest of these points. Like maybe the Scout Sentinel turns into a unit of 5 Scions, in order to get at least one of these Leman Russ Demolishers into a Tank Commander, so it's a little bit more self-sufficient. One of the things that I'm kind of looking at with this list that immediately jumps out to me as like a not a problem, but like a question is Lord Solar has a bunch of things that they want to order, the Bulgrin and then 3 tanks. And so generally, like, I'm sure you've heard me talk about some of my previous lists. I've had 6 things that Lord Solar wants to order, um, but it's not always important that you order the Bulgrin. However, this is definitely one where it feels like the orders for the Dorn and the 2 Demolishers are kind of non-negotiable, or nearly non-negotiable every turn. So I'm very surprised this is coming through. As far as like unusual lists go, this one is not that far off the beaten path, and I think this is still going to be a very respectable list going through. I think the Rattlings are also interesting. You are seeing more people bring more infiltrate due to how powerful Gene Stealers is right now, and I think this Rattling Snipers is a direct response to that, would be my guess. But anyway, I wanted to pull this one out. Not the most unusual one, but is a little bit out there. Anyway, next, let's go ahead and talk about Joe McMillan. So Joe, um, he has mostly played guard in teams on the East Coast of the United States, but other than that, has been playing a lot of different things. I think it was, I want to say it was mostly Grey Knights. I could double check, but I'm not going to. And this list is, this really isn't, okay, I'm not going to say that Joe copied it, but I will say that I saw an almost identical list to this one at my GT, the California Cup, recently, being played by Andrew Gagno. And this list is intriguing because it's Lord Solar, a Scion Command Squad, a Tank Commander with Grand Strategist, one unit of 10 Catachan, which are not attached to Lord Solar because they don't have a Command Squad to attach to, and then 3 Hellhounds, 3 Hydras, 3 Leman Russes Battle Tanks, a Leman Russes Exterminator, 2 units of Aquilons, and 1 unit of Scions. And this is just as many efficient tank holes as possible. You have 3 Hellhounds, 3 Hydras, 3 Leman Russes Battle Tanks. And these are all hyper efficient data sheets. The tank commander is going to order probably 2 Leman Russes Battle Tanks every turn, but one of the major things about this is every single one of these vehicles is OC3 and can sometimes be made to be OC4 if Lord Solar or the tank commander is nearby. And generally what I understand that Gagno is doing with this style of list is you would put a Hellhound on an objective turn 1, and then on turn 2, if your opponent was contesting it, you would just kill whatever is on there, and then you would put a Hydra on there next. And then you would do that again, and then you would maybe put 2 Hydras on an objective. And none of these vehicles are individually that hard to kill. However, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 vehicles that do need to be dealt with. And by having that many coming through, a lot of armies are really not prepared to deal with this much durability on the field. And that's generally the core game plan of this. You're going to be insanely violent, and you're going to have a lot of durability. You don't have the most OC, so it is a little bit vulnerable to getting like bogged down by like orcs, but orcs are generally thought to be not that good, and I don't think there are that many orc players coming to this event either. So a little bit tougher to, or like the natural counters to this list aren't really there. So I think Joe actually is fairly well positioned to take people by surprise, and he's definitely going to be winning games off of this list. And he's definitely going to be losing games. So he's going to hit things where it's like, well, I do not have, or you know, you tagged me with enough things, you tagged multiple vehicles with 1 unit of boys or something, and that'll be a problem. But I think it's a really interesting list, and definitely one that kind of makes sense to me as someone who's, or for Joe, who's mostly played guard in teams, to kind of come at it with this kind of skew list. So we'll see how he does. I'm excited for him. Next, we have John Winter Russell coming out from Canada, one of the top guard players, competing consistently with Nick Jagiello, both of whom are in the Greater Toronto area, as the best guard player in Canada. But anyway, John Winter Russell, Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar, a Militarum Tempestus Command Squad with Grand Strategist, 2 additional Militarum Tempestus Command Squads, a Platoon Command Squad, a Tank Commander, 10 Death Corps of Krieg, a Chimera, 2 Taurox Primes, 10 Attilan Rough Riders, Kazarkin, Regimental Attaches, 1 Rogal Dorn, 2 individual Scout Sentinels, 2 units of Aquilons, and 3 units of 5 Tempestus Scions. And this is really interesting. I remember if you watched the video that I did with Alexander Tepe, coming in from Germany, this is using the 2 Taurox Primes to take people by surprise and do damage in a way that a lot of people aren't used to playing against. Basically, the combo is you move the Taurox Prime up, it shoots at something on an objective, the guys get out, and so then the Scions are full rerolling hits against a target on an objective, and as long as the Taurox Prime hits at least one of its shots, full rerolling wounds against everything in the game. And that will do a lot of damage to anything, just full reroll hits, full reroll wounds, with enough plasma and enough melta to punch through just about anything you need to. It's really interesting to see that coming through because he's got the 2 of them, and then he has the 1 Militarum Tempestus Command Squad with 2 units of Scion, or with 5 Scions. And generally, the game plan here, I believe all of these Tempestus Command Squads have command rods instead of the plasma pistol on the Tempestor Prime. And so the general idea is between Gaunt's Ghosts and the Militarum Tempestus Command Squad with Grand Strategist, you should always be able to order all of these units, both first rank fire, second rank fire, and take aim for maximum damage. I'm assuming the Kazarkin go in the Chimera, but this is a lot of pressure coming out on the board, and in general, this is going to be getting most of its points by just forcing your opponent by denying primary really aggressively. The one question I might have on this one is how John is planning to hold his natural expansion. The natural thing that speaks to me is going to be the Tank Commander and the Rogal Dorn Battle Tank as a total of 8 OC that you can put on that. That is very durable, but again, a little bit vulnerable to being charged. But yeah, in general, I mean, and then you have the Attilan Rough Riders to like heroic intervention or countercharge anything that ties up your Rogal Dorn and Tank Commander. So I think this is another very well positioned list, but again, fairly off the beaten path. And I know that John Winter Russell is a player that we should be looking to represent guard very well at this event. Okay, next we have Manue coming in from Spain. Does not have an ELO, or at least not one that I could find, but a very interesting list coming out from this guy. He played recently. He switched over to guard as of the most recent MFM. It was the first event of 2024 with guard, and it was a teams event, but it was a very similar list to this one. So the big thing about this one that I want to pull out is this is kind of similar to what Kyle McCord was playing with the Midwest Monstars at a teams event earlier this year, where he was running triple Dorn and then maximum Bulgrin. However, Manue is playing Lord Solar, a platoon command squad, a tank commander with Grand Strategist, a unit of 10 Catachan Jungle Fighters, an Earthshaker Carriage Battery, a Hellhound, 3 units of 6 Ogryn, not 3 units of 3 Ogryn, as has been fairly common. You're seeing a lot of units of 3 Ogryn coming through. Rattling Snipers, 3 Rogal Dorn Battle Tanks, a Scout Sentinel, and 1 unit of Tempestus Aquilons. And this one is the first list where I go, I don't know if this works. The main thing about Ogryn is they are very cheap for what they do. It is true, but it is not that hard to full kill this unit. They will completely collapse to anything like Sanguinary Guard or Jump Pack Intercessors or Orc Boys or Custodies Wardens. Like every single one of these things will full kill this unit super, super easily. So there's a couple of tech pieces coming in here that I think might help it out. The first one is the Earthshaker Carriage Battery to help slow down some of these slow infantry like Boys or Wardens or Death Shroud Terminators in order to give you a little bit more space and to pair with things like the Tempestus Aquilons to do some damage. However, the thing that makes me worried is I don't know if once that first line of guys dies, when the Ogryn die, if there's enough damage in the rest of the list in order to close things out, in order to like continue to hold primary effectively. Because even though Rogal Dorns are 5 OC apiece, like you don't really have very many action doers in this, and so I'm really worried that this list is going to struggle to try and kill your opponent and score secondaries at the same time. But it's a really interesting list, and I'm kind of excited. One of the big things that I said on stream recently was I think units of 6 Ogryn are okay, but they are mostly valuable as rapid ingress threats. And with 3 of them and Tempestus Aquilons, like you don't have that many things that you need to start in Strategic Reserve. So you can definitely start 2 units of Ogryn in Strategic Reserve as rapid ingress threats, but it is like I feel like this list is going to be very hard to pilot and is going to be missing out on some consistency. So I think it's an interesting list, and hopefully it does well. But the 3 units of 6 Ogryn is definitely a very interesting tech piece to take to an event of this caliber. Okay, next we'll talk about Wesley St. Hines. We're almost done. We only got a couple more. Wesley St. Hines, a.k.a. Nemo the Fish, as he is showing himself on the WCW. I recently did an interview with him as well, talking about the tactical debrief. And this is almost an identical list to that. So he's got a Cadian Command Squad, 2 Death Corps Marshals, Gaunt's Ghosts, 3 Militarum Tempestus Command Squads. I think they all have Command Rods. Sly Marbo, Ursula Creed, 1 unit of 10 Cadian Shock Troops, 3 units of 10 Catachan Jungle Fighters, 2 units of 20 Death Corps of Krieg, 3 units of 10 Tempestus Scions, 3 units of Khazarkim, 3 units of Tempestus Aquilons. I don't have a whole lot more to say about this list than Wesley does. I would really recommend you go check out the, what do you call it? The interview that I did with him like last week. If you want to know more about this list, I think it's a cool list. I hope Wesley does well with it. He's done very well with it so far at all of his GTs. But of course, the World Championships of Warhammer is every round is something that you could expect to play in the finals of your average GT. So hopefully, Wesley showcases that this list is actually really good, and then we'll see how long it survives after we get our codex. So cool stuff coming out from Wesley as well. Okay, next we have Scott Horace Heresy. Very interesting player coming through. Does not have a lot of events coming out this year, but he has a Cadian Command Squad, Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar Leontis, 3 units of 10 Cadian Shock Troops, 2 Chimeras, a unit of Khazarkin, 3 Rogal Dorn Battle Tanks, 2 Scout Sentinels individuals, and Canis Rex. And this is, I mean, kind of like, I remember earlier on when I made like my battle line video and I talked a little bit about Cadian Shock Troops. This is the kind, like, maybe not exactly this list, but this style of list is where I was saying they would have their best value. And the main reason for that is there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 activations in this list, but 4 of them are 3 Rogal Dorns and Canis Rex. So it is a crazy durability skew that is 4 units that are toughness 12 or higher. 3 of them have 2-up saves. 1 of them has a 3-up, 5-up, and a free strat every turn for like a CP reroll. Yeah, this is a list where I think the Chimeras, the Scout Sentinels, are going to be doing a lot of screening. The Khazarkin will be fairly far forward, and then you can use the Cadian Shock Troops because they can stick your natural objective. It will be very easy to like use them to score things like containment or sabotage or recover assets. And you just have to put enough pressure on your opponent with all of these toughness 12 bodies that it will be good for you. I remember looking at this. Scott Horace only played this list one other time at, I believe it was like Aspect of Flame GT, where he ended up going 4-1. So it's a very interesting list. Again, very skewed list coming through. So good luck to Scott. I think he's going to win games based off, you know, his list stat checking people, and he's going to lose games based off the fact that some people can pass that stat check. So we'll see how Scott ends up doing with this list. Our last player that we have coming through that I thought was really interesting is Zach Comeau, coming in from Canada. It's worth noting that Zach has played Tau this entire year until very recently. I think it was, I remember checking his match history, and the only event that he has played guard at in 2024 is a recent RTT where he played at in order to try and prep for this event. So Zach is playing Gaunt's Ghosts, a Military Tempestus Command Squad, a Platoon Command Squad, 3 Tank Commanders, Ursula Creed. There's no Lord Solar in this list, and in fact, I have included both lists that are going to the WCW that do not have Lord Solar. The first one is Wesley's, the second one is Zach's. He has a unit of 10 Infantry Squad, 10 Tempestus Scions, which are battle line because the Military Tempestus Command Squad is his Warlord, a unit of 3 Armored Sentinels, 2 Earthshaker Carriage Batteries, 2 Heavy Weapon Squads with Mortars, 3 Scout Sentinels individual, and then 2 units of Tempestus Aquilons. Now, this list is designed to absolutely hammer all of your small scoring pieces. Between the 2 Mortars and the 2 Tempestus Aquilons, you are going, anyone that's like playing Cultists or Guardsmen that are out in the open, those units are just going to die. They won't necessarily die very quickly. The Aquilons can come in during turn 2, but the Mortars can already start doing the damage right away. And the Earthshaker Carriage Batteries can either contribute to the damage to those, or if you run into something like Deshra Terminators or Custodes, whatever it is, you can slow them down so the melee armies aren't going to be quite as threatening. And because of that, I actually think that this list is fairly well positioned for the event. My major worry with this is there's not a lot of units that are going to be trying to play the mid board, or that are naturally playing the mid board, right? You have the 3 Armored Sentinels, the 3 individual Scout Sentinels, and that's kind of it for things that you very naturally want to put in the middle of the board. So this game is much more about denying primary, killing your opponent off of the natural objective, killing your opponent off of the middle, and then using the tank commanders as like your second or third wave of things that are going to be playing in the middle of the board. So it is a very interesting thing. I'm expecting to see Ursula Creed and the Platoon Command Squad um, attached to the infantry squad so that you do end up getting the 3 orders off of that unit so that you can order the Earthshaker carriage batteries and the heavy weapon squad mortars. But that is three orders. So one of them, I believe one of them is going to have to go without. And so that's where you can use the Scout Sentinel to remove the -1 to hit so that things can still hit on 4s and 5s. But yeah, overall, very interesting list coming through from Zach in this game, or in this tournament. He's a 1775 is a very high elo. That is like, I want to say it's like Grandmaster's equivalent for League of Legends players. So, like, this list is coming at it with a very clear game plan. The question will be, of course, can it survive these pressure lists? The Earthshaker carriage batteries will be very helpful, but when I look at this, the tank commanders do have some ability to help out, but I do think that this is going to be a list that is going to take a lot of people by surprise. And so things that are not like Vanguard Marines or other things that have like stealth that just make the shooting worse, I think are going to, or just have like a durability skew of their own, like again, like Vanguard Space Marines actually, or something like Ironstorm, like the Blood Angels Ironstorm. I think this will have a fairly decent matchup into a lot of things. So we'll see how well Zach ends up doing with this. Anyway, these are the, what was it? Is that 7 lists? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so those are the 7 lists I thought were the most interesting out of like the 25 or so guard lists that are going to this event. If you guys have any other interesting ones that you found that you wanted to talk about, go ahead and bring them up. Let me know in the comments. I thought that most of the rest of them, like I said, were the good stuff. You know, Lord Solar, Scions, Ogryn, Bulgrin, Rogal Dorns, Leman Russes, blah blah blah. You just take all the good things and as many of them as you can. But anyway, so this is a bit of a preview. If these are inspiring to you, let me know. If you end up taking any of these lists to some of your own events, let me know how you do with them as well. But for the meantime, it's been Josh with Joushi Howard. I'm still recovering from a cold. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye bye.